I'm so excited to have you. I saw you do stand-up like 2 months ago, maybe?
Yeah.
Do you remember when I saw you?
Yes, it was at the Stonewall.
Yeah.
And it was before I went to Edinburgh, so it would have been like July, I think.
Yeah, July.
Yeah.
And you went to Edinburgh.
And then I went to Edinburgh.
Yeah, okay. And so you have, where do I even want to start? Because there's so much. I actually want to talk to you about dreams.
Okay.
Because your show is called
How to Go on Your Dreams.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. How to Give Up on Your Dreams is so good. You grew up as a dancer.
Yes.
You were dancing into your 20s.
Yeah.
Like
Up until,
like almost into your 30s.
Mm-hmm.
And you made the decision to stop dancing and go into like comedy and performing and like kind of musical theater and like stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
I feel like you I really relate to that. And I'm 32.
Okay.
How old are you? 31?
31.
Yeah, I loved your
She's a
joke about
baby.
turning 31 because I turned 30 and I was like, oh, great, amazing. And then I turned 31 and I was like,
Guess we're doing this.
yeah, like I guess I'm in my 30s.
Yeah. Because when you're 30, you're like, I'm like pretty much 29.
Yeah, and it's a new beginning.
Yeah.
You have dreams.
Yeah, it's exciting.
It's exciting to turn 30. Now I'm 32. Things have been going well, but like also things have been going terrible. It's like the classic like 30s, I think.
Well, and I feel like a lot of people said like, oh, your 30s are amazing because like everything starts to click and
Yeah.
everything happens. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Cool.
Meg Chizek is here today, everybody. Are you so excited to be on Life in Bold?
I'm so excited.
I feel like we need to just like get into it.
Yes.
Okay, so tell me about your show.
Okay, my solo show.
Yeah.
So it's called How to Give Up on Your Dreams.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's pretty much about the fact that like I grew up dancing.
Mhm.
It was my entire life forever.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of like stopped being my life, and that
Yeah.
was really hard to
Yeah.
like come to that, I guess, decision and reality of like, this actually isn't making me happy, even though I
dancing.
spent my entire life training for it.
Did it used to make you happy?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. And so it was a really hard, like, I guess, realization for me
Yeah.
and transition. And it kind of all did happen during the pandemic, which I don't talk a ton about in the actual
Yeah.
show.
Oh, the pandemic. Yeah. We didn't even. We haven't even like. Yeah, that's so true.
Yeah, but
'Cause
yeah,
There would be less dancing in the pandemic.
famously not a lot.
More on TikTok, but less on stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that makes
I
sense.
was already in a place where I was like, okay, this isn't really fulfilling me anymore. And at that point, I'd been in New York. I'd like done the whole audition scene,
Yeah.
and I'd like done a few like really small regional shows.
Yeah.
But I'm like a dancer first, and I'm very tall, which you can't tell sitting down. But
No, some people when they're sitting down look very short.
Oh yeah.
Some people,
As
I
I'm,
always
like-
feel like I'm towering over people, but I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
We're like eye level.
I'm like sinking back here.
Yeah.
But I grew up, and it was very much, you are going to play this one type. Like you're
see.
gonna be the chorus girl.
Yeah.
This is all you'll ever be because you're tall, and so you have to be this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like the more I did it, the older I got, the more I realized, oh, what if I don't want to be this?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh my gosh. And so were you doing any comedy before you made the transition? Because I feel like you stopped dancing and then now you're like very like cool and very funny like stand-up comedian and performer.
Am I?
Well, I
That's
actually wanted
nice.
to ask you about like your energy, because when you got on stage, it was within 2 seconds that I was like, she has to be on the podcast.
Yes.
There was something like you were calling people out. You really were confident. You have like the greatest stage presence.
Thank you.
And it's very hard to come by stage presence. Like you just,
Thanks.
and I guess it probably comes from being on stage your whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's so funny. I really thank you.
Yeah.
That's really sweet. I consider myself like a performer, and then like et cetera, et cetera. Like
Yeah.
I don't think I'm like that strong at writing anymore. Like my stand-ups, like it's fun, but I feel like stage presence is what I give to the world.
That's what you give to the world.
And
yeah.
I just I have a lot of fun. I think I've been on stage for
Did
like
you-
a lot of my life.
Did you always have good stage presence, or is it something you've learned?
That's such a good question.
Oh, thank you.
Ooh, I don't know. It's like hard to say because I I struggled with confidence a lot, and I think that like as a dancer, I was always in, the chorus, so it was not just me. I wasn't doing solos.
Yeah.
And my solo show, I talk a lot about it, but the dance world was just very intense, and I did a program that just kind of like beat me down. And so I really like didn't have a ton of confidence. And it took a long time to like build it back up. But I think doing comedy like helped me find myself, which sounds so cheesy,
no,
but
it's
but
good.
I think it helped me a lot.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like when you got on stage, you were in a lineup, and obviously like the lineup was great, but like you got on stage, and like there's just these moments where like as the host of this podcast, I'm just like boop, it's like a little cast. I'm a little industry guy, you know, like I'm casting people to be on my podcast, and you were just so bubbly and funny, and like the way you interacted with people, the way like you were calling people out and like just saying funny things and asking them questions, and like and I was just like, oh my God. And I knew you had the show, and I hate that I haven't seen your show. I got to come see it. Are you doing any more?
Famously, I haven't done it since I was in Edinburgh.
Okay,
so
famously,
you're
good.
fine.
Okay, good.
I
would have had to fly out.
Yeah, which you could have. I would have copped you.
Yeah.
But I am doing the New York Fringe Festival.
You are? Okay.
Which isn't until April.
Oh, that's okay.
And in the meantime, I've sat with the show for almost a year now. I did it the first time last December.
Yeah.
And like Edinburgh was amazing. It's a lot, but like really cool, really rewarding. And I'm taking some time just to like work on the script a little bit.
That's a good idea.
Yeah. And it's 50 minutes right now. I want to expand it to an hour.
Yeah.
So I'm working on that, and then we'll see. I'm thinking 2025. I'm hoping to revamp and do it.
That's
more
really good.
Broadway.
Maybe just Broadway. Yeah, I'm doing a show at Stonewall.
Yes.
On October 22nd. Everybody should be there, and it's gonna be an hour. And
oh my gosh.
I do have somebody doing like a little interlude, like someone performing in the middle of my hour, like for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Because I was inspired. I don't know how into Taylor Swift you are.
Oh, yeah.
But I went to the Eras tour, and I watched the Eras movie a lot.
Yeah.
And there's the part before she comes out for her Red album where there's like clowns, and like this clown is doing something like with a big box. I don't even know what it is, but I remember being entertained and like just like set up for the like next act.
Yeah.
And so I'm having Florence Freebay. Do you know her? She's like an improviser character person, and like she's coming out to do like spooky characters because it's a spooky show.
Wait, that's so cool.
It's a spooky evening with Ben Hawes. And I actually wrote like I swear to God, in the last month, I've written all new songs for this Halloween show. And so it's going to be like very different show.
Yeah.
But I'm really inspired by people who like get to their hour, because I feel like this is like an hour, but I don't know if it's like my hour, you know?
Yeah.
But it's going to be really fun. So I'm really actually curious if you have any like tips for like performing for that long, because the most I've ever done is like 35 minutes, but it was pretty easy, like because I sing songs and like do musical comedy and just sing like pre-written songs. But yeah, I just like, how is it for you performing like basically an hour show and like being on stage for that long and memorizing things and it's pretty physical too, isn't it?
Yeah. The memorizing's hard. Wait, also that show sounds so fun, and I want to go to all of the spooky shows.
Yes.
So
oh my
I'm
God.
there.
Okay. I have look
Yay!
what I got.
Wait, that's so cool.
You can have it.
God.
A spooky evening with Ben Hawes. They're playing cards. Come to the show. I'm gonna go to the park and like pass those out and like interview people on screen and stuff, and just like anyway, I have a whole promotional strategy.
Does marketing as well. I love that.
Yes.
Doing a longer show is fun.
Yeah.
Because you're on stage.
Yeah.
the whole
the big
time.
stage. Yeah.
It's definitely like memorizing, I feel like, is so hard. And it took like the first few times I did my show, I feel like I was really concentrating on the words.
Yeah.
But at the same time, because you're up there for so long and it's just you and you have to be so dialed in, it feels like it goes by in like the blink of an eye. And you're like, was that was that an hour? Like, I've
Yeah.
had that experience so many times where I got off stage and I was like, did I forget something? Like, that was surely 10 minutes. What happened?
Yeah.
But that, I think having music elements too is nice because it kind of, you know,
Yeah.
breaks up the flow and like you have like almost benchmarks
Yeah.
for yourself.
Yeah.
Because my solo show has it's storytelling, it's comedy, and then there's dance.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay,
I love
just
that.
get to the next dance.
Yeah, right. And what is the real, like, deep down, like, what is the message of your show? Like, it's called How to Give Up on Your Dreams.
Yeah.
Like, what's the, without giving too much away, like, I'm sure there's a lot, you know, a lot to go see the show for, but like, I feel like, what is the message of it? Or like, this is your offering to the world. Like, what do you hope people feel when they're watching the show or after?
Great question, as always.
You know what's funny? I will say, like, I feel that I do really ask good questions sometimes.
Yeah.
But I do not write them down. Like, I don't prepare
Really?
the questions. No.
Oh my God.
Because I
incredible.
noticed that, and then we'll get back to my great question that I asked.
Yes.
But like, I noticed that when I would prepare an interview, it wouldn't flow correctly.
Sure.
And I would be sitting there and be like, okay, so how, you know, what do you want people to feel when they watch your show? Okay, you know, like, and it just wouldn't be a conversation and like a charismatic like 1 hour video, you know. So anyway, what do you want people to feel when they're watching your show?
My show. Well, okay, so spoiler alert, I am not a dancer anymore. Always have to just
spoiler
preface.
alert. Big spoiler alert.
Big spoiler. I think that like the biggest hope for me, writing the show itself was very therapeutic because it was hard, like transitioning to a different path in life.
Yeah.
I think for me the show is just about like accepting yourself and trusting yourself.
Trusting yourself.
Especially when you're making like these big life decisions, like what should I do with my life, and you know, like what's my purpose. And I think that the show itself too touches a lot on like what is my purpose in life, and how it's really hard when you think it's one thing and it might not be. But that's okay. And it's all okay, and it's just gonna keep going, and you're gonna find the next thing. And so that's all.
Trusting yourself. I really resonate with that. I do. Like, because I just feel like I'm in such a year of like transition and like intuition and looking to answers, and you know, like I did hear you talk on another podcast about that the song from Pippin. And like how that was such a song for you, and like what's it called, My Corner of the Sky. Corner of the Sky. I listened to it in preparation. I was like, so I want to like really listen to this song. I have heard it before, but I was like really listening to it, and like I loved it, just talking about like how, you know, all these elements of the world have their spot, you know, in the world, and like what's my spot, like so I love that you took inspiration from like that vibe, you know, and that's part of your show.
Oh yeah, there's so much like musical theater referencing in it. So it's for a lot of musical theater geeks. And I always love that because I mean, it's for everyone.
It's for everyone.
But I love it because I'll be doing the show and then I'll say some like deep musical theater cut.
Yeah,
like,
and one person will laugh.
Yeah, and like one person will laugh, and I'll be like, "This is for you."
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's good. Let's talk about that message more, trusting yourself.
Ooh, yes.
Because I really do feel that I resonate with it.
Yeah.
And I love asking people about just their message and like what, you know, what their offering is, because you go on stage for a reason. It's not only because you love attention, you know, like it's not only because you love, well, some people just love performing, but I think when I have these conversations with performers and comedians and musicians and everybody, like it really is true that everybody kind of wants someone to feel something, even if it's just, I hope you laugh, you know, like even if it's just like, I hope you get a break from like how crazy and terrible the world is. So what made you kind of come to that as a person, like trusting yourself? Like what got you to that place where you were like, I think this is the thing that I want to share the most?
Yeah, I mean, I think just in general, not just with my solo show, but with my stand-up as well.
Yeah.
I think that and like honestly teaching Pilates.
But
I just want to create spaces where people feel like they can be themselves and like feel like it's okay to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I think that for me, at least, like giving up was embarrassing. Like it was really challenging, and like it made me feel really bad in some ways about myself. And I felt like, you know, the shame that comes with it. And so just processing that and being able to then share it with other people, knowing that like so many people have gone through this same like shame spiral of what I'm doing with my life. I don't know, there's some power in sharing your biggest fears.
Yeah, that's really true, which is like really true, you know, like it's just like I just feel like that authenticity and taking the most raw like fear and insecurity and making it like something where it's like, okay, I kind of went through and I processed this and now I want to show you how I processed it, and like hopefully by me sharing my story with you, you find something in it. Like I went on a journey when I turned 30. My journey to 30 was what I called it. And I was like, when I turned 29, I was like, I gotta have it together by the time I'm 30. Yeah. Like I was like, I am gonna like, I was like, I literally started therapy. I like just did all these things that I thought was gonna be like, okay, now when I'm 30, bam. Yeah. Great. And I did start therapy, and like I just had all these like thoughts. But then by the time I turned 30, I was like, I was like, I do not have it together. What's going on here? I gave myself a year to get it together. I was like, I want to know, like, what do I want out of life? And I went and saw like an energy person. Yes. And in Nashville. And there's this place in Nashville that I always plug called the Happy Hour. My friend Stephanie goes there, and she bought me like a session with this energy work person. And one of the things that we talked about was authenticity. And like I told her, like, I want to be more authentic. My friend Stephanie actually told me, like, and she doesn't like when I bring up past stuff that she said, because she's like, I don't remember what mindset I was in when I said that, so it makes me nervous when you bring up past things that I've said. But she does give me a lot of good advice. Yeah. And she told me, like, I think you just need to be more authentic, because I was talking about my social media content, and I hadn't actually started doing performing in New York yet. And she was like, I think you need to be more authentic. So I like went on this like short journey of like being authentic, or like going on this journey of like finding what it means to me to be authentic. And the energy person was like, I think it's just like sharing your true story. And like that, you know, obviously that's a piece of it, but it really helped me identify like what I wanted to post and what I wanted to share and perform. So I love that you felt like you had this like shame and insecurity around like quitting your dream and giving up on your dream, and then you share it in a show. Like I think that's just so like beautiful. Thanks. So like how is it received? Like do you get feedback like after the show? Do people come up to you and say certain things? Or
I've definitely gotten some like great feedback, and I always love when I like interact with a lot of performers or dancers that are just like, oh, that really hit me so close to home. And I'm not to brag, but I have had a few criers, which is huge.
That's so good.
I did have one man fall asleep, but that's okay.
Hey, he was giving up on his dream of staying awake.
He was. my little theater in Edinburgh was so small and so hot.
Oh no.
And there was this one day I was like, he's going. Oh
no.
It's okay. At the end, he was like, that was amazing.
Hey.
Whatever. Anyway, back to the positive. No, it's cool to like see people, I guess, have that same experience. Or that have had that same experience, because we're talking about being authentic. The other thing that I really love about just theater in general is like connecting to people, right? That's the whole point, is seeing something on stage and being able to say, I identify with that. So it's really cool to see that in real time. It's kind of overwhelming too, because I'm like, oh, did I accomplish what I set out to do? Whoa.
I recently performed in my hometown for their Pride Festival.
Where are you from?
California, Northern California,
cool. Okay.
the East Bay. And I grew up in the same town my whole childhood, and like go back often. My parents still live there. My brother lives there, and they invited me to come perform like at the at the Pride Festival, and I just did like a 20-minute, like I did 3 songs, like, and it was funny because I felt uncomfortable when I was up there. Like, it was outdoors, and I've never performed outdoors, like at a festival in a park before. And it was a very small, like, stage. And, like, you know, it just wasn't like this big grand, you know, sometimes in New York, like, these clubs are like, some of them are really shitty, but some of them are like, you know, a little, like, a Stonewall is like a big deal to me. Like, I like performing at Stonewall, or like just other places around the city. Like, I feel like they just feel like bigger, and they're indoors. I'm an indoor cat. And I don't know, when I was performing, I wasn't like present, and I wasn't grounded, and I felt that I did a bad job. But then everybody afterward was like, oh my gosh, that was so great. Like, you were so funny, and like, it's just so cool to see you come back to the, you know, all of my goals were achieved. So I really like agree with getting that feedback that you accomplished what you set out to do. Maybe you inspired somebody, or you connected with somebody. Can we talk about Edinburgh? Because I like really want to know, because when I first reached out to you to be on the podcast, you were like, no, because I'm too famous, I'm going to be in Edinburgh.
No.
You were like, I can't do it in August because I'm busy. You're like, but then when you got back, you reached out to me immediately, and you were like, I'm ready. And so it was great. So I'm happy we're here. But like, I'm really excited to hear like how your experience was.
Oh my gosh. Well, I'm so happy to be here. And it's so funny. Literally anyone could go to Edinburgh. That's all I'm saying. Like, people, I really don't believe in myself, if you can't tell. Everything I say, I'm like, disqualifying myself.
No, but okay.
I'm
but
amazing.
what you're saying is that maybe it's not difficult to get in. Is that what you're saying?
It's like, you could just go and pop on shows. Like, there's a lot of like stand-up shows going on.
Yeah.
And I knew a few comedians that went and just kind of like popped on. And it's an amazing time.
Yeah.
I had like such a great experience. It was a lot. So I was only there, I was there for 2 weeks. I only did my show for one of the weeks.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. And I know some people will go the whole month.
Right.
I did not have the funds, but...
Oh, of course. Who does?
It's expensive. That's what I'll say.
And what's the most expensive? Is it just the travel and like all of that? Like,
it's like the travel, you have to pay for the venue.
Okay.
And then you get ticket sales, but... It's like not.
So this is what I want to talk about, because I feel like I don't know, I had maybe 5 connections and like comedians and people that I know that were doing the festival. And it was really interesting because I saw, I don't know that I had it in my mind that like you might be doing a show for 2 people. Yeah. You know what I mean? And like, I saw people like passing out like on their social media, like passing out flyers, and like, today I had 3 people, you know, like that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I was like, that's really interesting, because I guess my perception of it was that like, it would be like really difficult to get in, and then it would be packed.
Yeah.
You know, for some reason, that's what I think that's what you're speaking to, is like, it's not as, maybe glamorous as
for sure,
like you said, your theater was hot, and like, you know, like, so, but it's still a huge accomplishment, and you should definitely feel like really good that you like were in the festival, you got, you know, approved to be in the festival, you wrote a show that was in the festival. Like, it is extremely impressive. And I think a lot of people would be surprised by like, it's expensive, you're paying, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, for sure. And like, the thing is, so it's a lot of steps.
Okay.
And like, I produce shows here in New York.
Yeah.
And you do as well.
Yeah.
You find the venue, you're like, cool, we're doing it.
Yeah.
But it's so many steps. It's like, you lock in with the venue, you sign the contract with the venue.
Yeah.
Then you have to submit to the actual festival.
Oh, you do the venue first.
Yes.
Okay.
And then once you have the venue and your dates and everything, you submit to the festival. And then once you're in the festival, it's like, you have to get festival insurance. I use music in mine, so I had to like register the music.
Wow.
You have to there's a lot of little things that producing here, you would never think of. And then everything's in pounds. So you're like doing the math, and you're like, wait, it's actually like $2,000.
Yeah.
So it's a lot, and I was self-producing.
Yeah.
So honestly, that was really challenging,
Yeah.
and you are doing a lot of flyering, a lot of standing on the street trying to get people to come in, and it's one of those things you really like. At least I didn't know how many people were gonna be there until moments before,
Oh my gosh.
until you see them come in and you're like,
oh, people are at my show.
oh good. Yeah.
Yeah. And how were your crowds? Like, were they
They
different
were
every night?
good.
Like,
yeah. I honestly, that was like my biggest fear, because I had heard from people that were like, yeah, you'll have 2 or 3 audience members.
Yeah.
And that was my biggest fear.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I'm paying all this money. I'm going all this way.
Yeah.
What do you mean I might have to cancel a show?
Yeah.
So I was really stressed. So I was flying like a psychopath. So my turnout was not terrible. I had 2 nights I sold out, which was really, really cool.
Yeah.
I think
Wow, that's great.
it was great.
2 nights out of how many nights did you do it?
6.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
And again, I was in like a black box, so it was
Yeah.
that was also very helpful for me, because I only had to sell 30 tickets to
great.
sell out, so
Yeah.
it wasn't like
That's great.
too large.
Yeah.
And then I worked with the venue I was at was Greenside Venues, shout out. But they were really awesome. They very much encouraged a lot of like community within the performers.
Yeah.
So we could all essentially see each other's shows
cool.
for free. So that was nice too, because the nights where it was lighter,
Yeah.
I would have a lot of performers be like, well, I'll come. And
That's nice.
which
Yeah.
was really, really nice. So it was great, and it was so cool just like performing.
Yeah.
Like I would either perform, or I would flyer, or I would go see shows. And
It's like kind of like a camp.
oh my God,
It's kind of summer campy, isn't it?
it's very like a theater summer
Yeah.
camp. And it was amazing. Like I
Yeah.
didn't have a day job. I didn't have to like
Yeah.
worry about anything else but exactly what I wanted to do. Talk about finding your purpose.
Yeah.
And so that was really, really, it was incredible.
Yeah. What was it like performing for like a global audience? Like there's,
Yeah.
and I guess you sometimes have international people in New York, but like you really don't know where people might be from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think my show specifically is very like New York. Like it's very
Yeah.
like Broadway, Rockettes, blah, blah, blah. And but then again, people know that, and I hope that my flyer itself, people can kind
Yeah.
of tell that it's very Broadway coded.
Yeah.
But there was a few jokes that I did change, or a few punchlines that I would like
Yeah.
kind of, alternate so that it hit with the crowd.
Yeah.
Which was fun finding, throughout the run, being like, that's not working. What can I say? And then like having it work the next day. That was fun. I had a really killer Northern Ireland joke that I will never tell again.
Never?
Well, it
you
just
mean-
won't
because
work.
it won't. I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But-
That's so funny. And did you feel like flyering was just the way to do it?
Oh my God.
Like, did you feel like it was like there was any other way to get people to come out?
Oh, I tried everything. I did hire an HR. PR?
I hired HR because I knew I was.
wish
about
I
to
had
fuck up.
HR. I hired a PR person. However, I think it's a waste of money, but
Yeah.
that's just me.
But you have to try it.
You have to try it. You have to waste your money.
What did your PR person do? Like try to get you in the news and stuff?
Yeah, try to
Yeah.
get me into the news. Try to get me some reviews.
Yeah. Okay.
And anyway,
Yeah, moving on.
moving on. But yeah, I'm flyering.
Yeah.
They have so many different like things that you can pay for to like promote it
yeah,
on the
put it-
street.
yeah.
Yeah, like the posters, but even the small posters were like $100 a poster.
I bet.
It was very expensive.
It's all out of money, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like it's a big money making
Yeah.
thing, isn't it?
So flyering did help.
Yeah.
And just yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I feel like it's an interesting thing. I talk about because I'm okay. So I'm doing this show. It's my first time I'm producing my own
Oh,
show.
wow, okay.
Like I feel like I've headlined and I've done shows and I've done this and that.
Yeah.
But I feel like I've produced shows. I don't know why. I don't know. I feel like I produce stuff. I produced this podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
But like I feel like it's my first time that I like went out and got the venue and like I'm paying the sound person, like all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been interesting thinking about how to get people to come. Like ultimately, especially like in New York, I think the only best way is just to like invite them, like to text them and be like, hey, I'm doing a show. I would love for you to come. But I really am thinking about like how to promote to strangers. And I think part of the benefit of doing it at a place like Stonewall is people just want to go see a show at Stonewall.
Right.
In theory.
Yeah.
And so in my communication and in my advertising and stuff, I've been like, it's been called like Stonewall Musical Comedy Extravaganza with Ben Hawes, you know?
Yeah.
And so that's been really interesting. But I have been doing some PR myself and trying to like reach out to news and like,
Amazing. Yeah.
I haven't had a ton of success, but like, I just think if one of them bit, like it would be so cool to get a little article or whatever. But
it just takes one.
I know, it just needs one little like some press coverage, you know?
Yeah.
But then who knows? Like who knows if that's even I think it could amplify how important the show feels to the people that I already invited. You know, but it's just an interesting conversation that I always like to ask people about, like promoting shows.
It's hard.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm good at it.
Yeah.
But
no, you are probably really good at it because I think just like the way you think about it, and you're just smart, I think.
I agree.
Which is good because we have some fan questions that I want to ask you.
Oh, okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fans.
You have fans. Okay. So
disco ball.
I went so we have a disco ball punch bowl, and this is sponsored by my photo booth company, Rent My Booth.
Oh my god, amazing.
And we have oops, my flyer is in here.
How did she get here?
And so I wanted to ask you questions, but I wanted to ask one of your biggest fans, and his name is Jimmy Schatz.
Yes.
And I saw Jimmy, like, I know Jimmy, like, loves you, and I know that he was hosting a show that you were on, and I know he's been on your show.
Yeah.
And I texted him, and I was like, do you have any questions that I could ask her? And he was like, yes. And he sent me 5 questions.
Okay.
So you're going to do a little drum roll.
Okay.
With, like, however you want, and tell me when to pick one.
Okay, and 5, 6, 7, 8, go.
Okay. Are you ready?
Oh, yes. Oh, it's a long one. Oh, my God.
Okay. This is the one that, okay, are you ready?
Ready.
Really concentrate.
Okay.
I watched, do you know Jake Shane, the guy who's like octopus lover on TikTok? Yeah. He has a podcast that I really like called Therapus. And he will ask people the questions, and he'll read like fan questions, and they'll be like, sorry, I wasn't listening. Like, what was it? So I tell people like, really concentrate. Are you ready?
Okay, concentrate.
Okay. How do you feel about stand-up versus musical theater? Would you say that stand-up is much easier to break into because talent is much more subjective? In reality, you might not make it to the Comedy Cellar, but if you smile at the right people, you could end up on a few lineups.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think stand up in general I like that it's such a long question, and I'm like, yep.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Yeah.
The answer is yes.
The answer is
No, but like stand up, it's like you need a microphone.
Yeah.
That's kind of it.
Yeah.
Whereas like for musical theater, it's like, okay, you need like a orchestra and like the right costumes and all of this.
Yeah, true.
And like dance class is expensive, acting, singing, like that's so expensive. And like again, stand up, it's just you show up and it's a lot more accessible.
Yeah, it's more accessible. That's a good word for it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you've seen some people at open mics. Truly, anyone can try it.
Anyone can try it. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas, like, if you can't tap dance, you kind of know right away.
Yeah. Right. That's so funny. That's so true. I feel like for me, like, I started when I turned 30, and I was like, I'm gonna be a performer. I started doing stand up, and I was like, I just quickly was like, okay, this is fine, but like, I gotta do more than this. Like, I gotta like, I can play the guitar. I have some funny songs. Like, and when I started doing the guitar, like with songs, like it ended up feeling better for me. But now I'm getting a little bit back into like storytelling and stand-up and stuff, and it's been really interesting. So, but you're really good at stand-up.
Thank you.
I really like your stand-up.
Thank you. It's a fun time.
And you have good you are unique because you have a very good YouTube presence.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. Do you work on that? Is that something do you care about that?
No. I just post things on YouTube.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to lose them from my laptop.
Oh, okay.
So if they're on YouTube,
you can
I can always download it from YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So I post I mean, you can go look at literally everything I've ever done.
Yeah.
It's not all good.
No,
But
but
it's
that's
all on YouTube for myself. I get some weird comments on YouTube. So I like never check my YouTube.
Oh my gosh. Well, I always like look people up before they come on the podcast, and I like see if they've been on a podcast or see their YouTube or like just see like what they do and like what they post online, because like I personally am really interested in like the digital stuff as well. But a lot of people do not have
interesting
YouTube. Like a lot of people don't post on YouTube, even though and even when you do, it's not like you're gonna like have a viral 8-minute like stand-up clip, you know. But I still think it's good for like your profile, and like people can search you, and like I think it's just a good thing.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Okay,
well,
ready?
Thanks.
Okay, you gotta tell me when. Yeah.
And go.
Okay.
Shorter.
You chose the longest one first. Oh, this is good.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
How do you shake off a bad performance, or if the audience isn't responsive?
Oh my God.
Not that you've ever had a bad performance.
Yeah, never. No, I think that like the more I've done like stand up and comedy itself, I feel like I've gotten better at it. Because I think or maybe I'm just better at the doing stand up in general.
Yeah.
I think that like you can't always blame the audience. You can't always blame the crowd. However, you also have to know your audience.
Oh, yeah.
So like if I am in a room of just like bros, I'm like, okay, this is going to be bad, and that's okay. Neither of us are going to have fun.
You don't like try to adapt. Yeah.
I'll try, but like most of my comments, like I did a show actually in Edinburgh with Sean Conrad. Shout out.
Yeah.
He's a doll, but his show, it was all guys, like middle-aged men, and
God.
then like these 20-year-old men and me.
Yeah.
And all of my jokes are like, okay, here's my IUD. And I was like, do you guys even know what that is?
Yeah.
Like sometimes you can just lean into it.
Yeah. Right.
But no, usually I'll like cry a little bit, have a few drinks, and then and just kind of move on past it. Maybe think about giving up on this new dream as well.
I know.
But
no, yeah, I don't know. I feel like a bad audience, or I don't think it's not really a bad audience. It's just like sometimes things aren't connecting, you know, like and maybe it's just the wrong people. Like, you know, like you're, especially as you're kind of starting and getting on lineups and like getting on like shows at places that you're not producing, you know. Right. And that's why I think it's so good to produce your own show, because
100%.
You're choosing the audience. I think that's really great. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you cry, have a drink.
Have a drink. I feel like I usually try to talk myself off the ledge. Like, it just wasn't your crowd. It's okay.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Do you ever feel like you did poorly, but people tell you that you did great?
Yeah. I think I know when I do poorly.
Okay.
Because I feel like what happens when I like bomb,
yeah,
and it's like you're up on stage and you start to judge yourself, and that's when it goes poorly, when you're like, okay, just say words, like just get the words out. You're like not even telling jokes, you're just like reciting a monologue, and I notice it while I'm up there, and I'm like, okay, like you're getting sweaty. You're like, just let this be done, please.
Yeah.
Right. I feel like, when that happens, I just try to shake it off.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, and like I sadly do try to be like, okay, learning experience.
Right.
Like, what did we learn from this? How can we do better in the future?
And sometimes when I do poorly, the next time I do amazing.
Yeah.
Like I've had a couple. I actually did my first ever like feature that I ever did.
Amazing.
June 5th, 2023.
Ooh.
So last year, and it was the first time that I was like kind of like I was like, I'm a performer now, and I come to my show, and I had all my friends come, and I was going to this open mic, and that was the open mic that was like featuring me, and I went like the day before, and I totally bombed. Like not only bombed, but like the light was bothering me. I was getting dry mouth.
Yeah.
I didn't remember the lyrics that I was trying to remember for the show. And my friend Denise was with me, and I was just like, Denise. I was like, I cannot do this show. Like, I did so terribly. And she said, she always has a words of wisdom, but like, she was like, you know, it's like sometimes like couples like break up and then they get engaged.
Yeah.
You know, like they break up and then they realize that they were meant to be together and they get engaged like 2 months later or something.
Totally.
That's how I feel about it. It's like sometimes right before you do the greatest performance ever, you totally fail.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Yeah,
Okay, one more.
I agree. Oh, okay. And 5, 6, 7, 8, go.
Okay. Medium.
Yay.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, interesting. Controversial.
Ooh.
But you won't get canceled.
Oh.
Okay. Do you agree that we live in a time where most people are fame hungry and have absolutely no interest in the craft? Let me read it again.
Oh, yeah, you can read it again.
Yeah, may as well. Do you okay, here we go. Do you agree that we live in a time where most people are fame hungry and have no why am I having so much and have no
Next
interest
question.
in the craft? Next. This one's hard to read, Jimmy. Do you agree that we live in a time where most people are fame hungry and have absolutely no interest in the craft? That's a very Jimmy question.
I know, it really is. I like hear him reading it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I understand where he's coming from.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people are interested in like, I guess, like TikTok, Instagram, like getting likes and stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's just a different craft. You know what I mean? Because I do think that like being a TikToker, being an Instagram comic is a skill.
Yeah.
And it's not one that I possess personally.
But you are pretty good with content.
Am I? I'll post like a lot of photos of my cat, and I'll be like, "Oh yeah, here's a clip."
But that's part of your act
It's
is talking
true.
about your cat. So I
It's
feel like it's good
true.
that you post about your cat.
I'm famously a cat lady.
Yeah.
Lock her up.
Yeah.
But I think that what's the question? No, I think that
Let me read it
okay,
again.
No. I think that I think it's just like a different craft.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I don't know if like one is necessarily better than the other.
Yeah.
I think that just some people have different like ideas of what success is, what like what fame is, or like what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. I always think about like there's like a spectrum of like people, and like there are people, especially like in stand up, who just like do stand up and they don't have a business card. They don't make a flyer. They don't post about anything. They don't have they don't have any social media. They don't go on you know what I mean? Like they're not online. They're chronically offline.
Yeah, yeah.
And some of those people are the best comedians, and they get booked because they're just known from their reputation. Mm-hmm. And then there's people all the way on the other side who are like going to open mic nights, trying something the first time and posting it and being like, I'm a stand-up comedian. And like that's also something where it's like, you're not working on the craft of stand-up, you're working on the craft of like content, like you said. And then I feel like there's people like everywhere in the middle where like, you know, like I know a lot of comedians who love performing, and like, you know, improvisers and performers and stuff who like love performing, and they know they need to post because they need to like grow an audience.
Yeah.
But they hate it. Is that you?
I think that's me.
And I think I'm on the other like I'm on somewhere in between, like you know, kind of in the middle toward the content, where like I love performing live so much, but like part of what I love performing is like selling it and like promoting it and like releasing it. Like I love putting something on Spotify, or like, you know, like having a footprint that is online, like I guess is important to me, which is why I have like the podcast and like stuff like that. But even like the podcast is its own craft, you know, like having a podcast is not easy. And but yeah, I do think it's really interesting, and I think Jimmy is very like into stand-up and into storytelling and performing and stuff like that. And like I think he's also someone who's like, oh, why do I have to post, like, you know what I mean? And sometimes I'll like tell him, like, I like took a video of him one time and I was like, post this, and like some people just don't, it just doesn't, like, they don't want to, or like they just don't like care about it or whatever. So it's funny to think about like that spectrum, because if you ask people in like the 80s, like I would be curious to know like what the equivalent would be like, because there's not social media, you know, people don't have phones that they can like
do you have a website?
Yeah, like not even, I don't even think, like in the 80s. So but like I think it would be like, do you pass out flyers, or like do you like go on the radio stations? I don't know, like I don't know. It's an interesting thing to think about. Should we do one more?
Yeah.
I'm into these questions.
I know, it's fun.
It's fun. It's disco. I don't have a name for the. If you have a name for this segment,
Okay, something with
think
the
about
disco
it.
ball.
It's got to be disc and something with like the fan question. Like it'll be like fan disco fans. I don't know.
We'll come
disco,
up with
yeah. Okay. Coming from a background in musical theater, what age were you when you got the bug?
Oh,
I like that question.
that is a great question. I mean, I think that like from what I can remember, I loved just like watching musicals. Like I remember watching like all of the old like Hello Dolly, Oklahoma, like all of those whenever they were on TV. Because I'm from the great state of Iowa, so there's not a lot of live shows there. And then I started dancing when I was 9.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
And like once I took my first dance class, it was like donezo.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I was like, this is it.
Yeah.
So
what was your first dance class? Like, do you remember what it was?
yes, I talk about it in my solo show.
Good.
Actually, it has a cameo.
Yeah.
It was Jazz Tap 1.
Okay.
With Miss Afton, who shout out. Afton now runs the whole studio.
Wow.
I know, but she was my teacher and she was like in college and I love her.
I was gonna say, was she like really young?
Yes,
and cool?
she's still so cool.
Yeah.
But there was 2 of us girls in class, only 2 people.
Wow.
And for the annual recital, it was like a fairy tale theme.
Yeah.
And we got the part of trolls.
I love that.
Yeah, and I did like
so
a little
funny.
shimmy on stage.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah, so
That's really fun. I remember when my sister did ballet. My younger sister did ballet, and there was a time where I don't know if like my mom, back to like the PR thing, like somehow my sister, a great picture of my sister doing ballet like ended up in the newspaper.
Oh wow.
And my mom, it was just like this big thing in my family that like my sister was in the newspaper, and I was so jealous. I was like, I have never admitted that in my whole life, but like I just remember, and like my mom was a 5th grade teacher for most of my childhood, and on her wall was like the picture of my sister. And like she totally deserved. She was in the, she did the ballet class, she did the performance, she was in the newspaper. Yeah. We all get in the newspaper on some part in our lives, you know. Yeah, I was jealous. I was jealous of my sister for being in the newspaper and getting like, it was a great picture. It was a fantastic pic. I should find it somewhere.
Yeah. Frame
I wonder. Yeah, like as motivation.
I'd be like, look at me now.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. But okay, so we're on Life and Bold. We've talked a little bit about trusting yourself and your message around trusting yourself and like following instincts to give up on your dreams and like make a life transition. And one of the things that I always love talking about is like life transitions and being able to like somehow like see what you want, and like to be able to see, it's hard, like see into the future and make a decision based on what's best for you, or make a decision based on what you want to do. Like, can you talk a little bit more about that? Like, did you feel like you knew that you wanted to go into comedy and performing, or did you feel, was there a gap between when you were like, I think I'm gonna stop like pursuing dancing, and right now I know I want to do performing in this way, or did it take some time?
I thought you were gonna be like, "What's next?" And I was about to be like, "I don't know."
Scary, spooky questions on Life and Bold.
This is a better question.
No, I could never ask you what's. I never you. No, people complain, like big celebrities say, don't ask me what's next.
Like, I don't know.
So what's next?
Broadway?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is anyone hiring?
Yeah.
No. Okay. So when I first moved here, like right after I graduated, and I started working at Broadway Dance Center. Shout out.
Yeah.
And I worked there for a really long time, and that was the first place, because again, my school was just it was very strict, and so it was the first place where people were like, hey, you're kind of goofy, like you have like kind of a funny personality. And I was like, what?
Yeah, I
have a personality. I'm allowed to have
just beautiful. I know, tiny on stage.
I'm allowed to have a personality and eat carbs. It was like groundbreaking. And so everyone there was like, oh, you should try improv. You should do improv. So I took a UCB class and I hated it.
Yeah. Okay.
My UCB level 1 teacher slept with one of the girls in our class.
Oh, scandalous.
Scandalous. And it was just like, it was a weird vibe.
What age were you when you were doing that class?
I just graduated, so I was like 22.
Okay.
And I just like, I was really in my head. Again, I was like such a theater person. So I was very like aiming to please. And like, it really stressed me out that it wasn't planned. Like I didn't have a line. And I just I remember needing everyone to know, like, I'm a dancer. So I can do like dance things for improv. Like just really annoying. So I didn't like that. But I think throughout the years when I was auditioning for theater, I would like dabble in I took a sketch class. I like did another level 2 just to see what it was like with a new teacher. And it was better, but improv has never been my journey. I'm so impressed by people that do it. And then I got back from a contract in 2018, in the fall of 2018. I was like dancing, chorus girl, whatever. And that's when I was kind of like, okay, I don't know. Like this was not it. Like this was what I thought I wanted. It was a really good theater. But like I just kind of stood in the back and got paid like $200 a week. Like I don't know what to do. And at that point I just started like taking like a bunch of classes, just like taking sketch, and then I took stand up for just like kicks and gigs. I took a class at the Pit and I was like, let me just see, because I like comedy and this is at least a little bit more like prepared than like improv is. And I ended up really liking it. It was an all-female class.
Okay. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
That's a great
so
idea.
So it felt like
I want to be in that.
I know. And like it was a very safe space. And that was February 2020.
Okay, wow.
So I did the class and I was like, well, that was fun. I didn't think I would like really ever do stand-up again. I didn't really know. I was just like, that was fun. I think they gave us 3 minutes at our grad show. That was it.
I love a 3-minute stand-up set.
And I think it's still on YouTube. And it's literally I'm just walking back and forth being like, so I'm a dancer. It's so annoying. It's really bad. But
it'll be good for your documentary one day.
It will be. So during the pandemic, I think I was just like, well, performing arts are dead. Like, and I don't know. I just like started doing more stand up. I found this woman on the internet and she was teaching an online class through the Pit. Her name is Christy Summers, used to be Christy Cello. She's amazing. She opens for Nicole Byer. Like does a shot. So she had this clip online that was like talking about her cats and how she used to do musical theater, and she was just really bubbly. And I was like, wait, but I'm bubbly. And so I took class with her, and I still reach out to her with everything. She's been she's everything. The Laughed Her Collective is her whole comedy school now.
Oh, that's really cool. I've heard of that.
It's amazing. So I feel like I don't know, I just found like a group that
you're taking classes, finding people.
And I still don't know if I want to do stand up. And I say this on stage. I'm like, I don't think I really like stand up. But
I've seen that. I've seen videos because you say like, what do you say? Like it's I think you say it's mostly like sad guys on stage or something like that.
Oh yeah, it's a lot of sad men. And then I also am like, I don't know if I like doing stand up, but I can eat carbs now, which is like really cool. Couldn't do that as a dancer. So there's that. So yeah, I don't know. I just
kind of like you just explored, and you're still exploring. It sounds like.
Yeah, I just explored, and I think once I started doing stand up, I've always kind of been like, this is so fun and I love it. I don't think it's like the end all be all for me. But it's also how I like got into solo show writing and like doing more of like the writing and that stuff.
I agree with you about improv a little bit. I like it, but I don't totally love it. I think it's really interesting because improv is what I don't like about it is that it's not me. I'm playing a character, and it's my skills and it's my references and it's like, you know, my knowledge and like my ability to do a funny character. But I don't really like doing a character, I don't think.
Yeah.
Like, I think I want to share my story. I think I want to like be myself. And so that's why like writing funny songs from like my perspective is really good. But I've recently been getting into writing songs from the perspective of some character.
Cool. Okay.
So like I recently wrote one from the for my Halloween show on October 22nd. I wrote one from the perspective of the monster in my closet.
Amazing.
Which is so funny because it's like as I said that, I was like, wait, do people have monsters in their closets, or they have the monsters under the bed? Is it both?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the first line is, I'm the monster in your closet. I'm the monster under your bed. And like, and the whole thing is that this monster, the way he scares me is to give me.
Things start
And then it just
you're
comes
just
together.
like, yes.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have no memory of what we were talking about.
Nor do I.
Okay, audience. Okay, fam. Wait, have you been seeing the I just feel like there's a lot of TikToks right now. Like, when we in the club, we all fam. Have you seen those?
So
Did you make one?
No, I'm a millennial.
Yeah.
So like a normal 30-year-old, I don't watch TikTok.
You don't watch a lot of TikToks.
I watch Instagram
Reels.
So I see everything. So I'll see it in a few weeks.
Yes, you will. You will. I'm on TikTok, but
I'll laugh.
I have actually pulled back from TikTok a little bit because I just feel like it's really like over as a creator, like just like I'm never getting a lot of views, and like even if I do, it's always random people who are not sticking around, whereas Instagram is so much more like it's my friends and people that I've met, so it's more impactful.
I feel like don't do what I do, because clearly it's like you should have great internet presence, but I'm like, I can only focus on one.
Yeah, right. No, absolutely. No, absolutely. I think to wrap it up, as we think about boldness, I always like to just ask, like, for you, like, what does boldness mean to you?
Ooh.
Yeah, I know.
The Midwest is coming out.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, what does boldness
yeah, think about it. Like,
mean
does
to
it
me?
does it bring up any feelings for you? You don't have to be like preaching anything, you know, about.
Yeah. Okay, when I think bold, I think like really bright colors.
Okay.
Which I don't know if it's just like your whole aesthetic, but like I remember when I was trying to do my research for the pod, and I kept searching life in color, and I was like, why is it not popping up? And then I was like, oh, it's life in bold, idiot. But I think it's just like being very vibrant, being very like authentic to yourself, circling back. But I think that, it's just like being your truest version of yourself, I think, is living like a bold life and not being afraid to like put yourself out there in whatever aspect it might be.
Yeah. I like the idea of putting yourself out there, because ultimately, like, the opposite of bold is just, I think, sometimes fear.
Yeah, for sure.
And like living and operating in fear and insecurity, but you can be insecure and bold, you know, like you can feel it's it's like when Taylor Swift came out with the Fearless album, and someone said, so what does it mean to be fearless? And she was like, well, it doesn't mean that you don't have fear. It means that you have fear, but you go after what you want anyway.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I feel about boldness, is like, I like you saying, put yourself out there and like take the risk, you know, and be able to stand there and be like, this is who I am, and risk it.
Yeah, even when it's scary, doing it anyway. Yeah.
Do you feel like you have that fear?
I feel like I have that anxiety. I feel like I'm a very like anxious girly.
Yeah.
And it pushes me past my fears.
Oh, okay.
In a way, it is very debilitating. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, right.
But in a lot of ways, it makes me like hyperactive and productive of like, I'm afraid of this, but like if I don't do it, then like I'm worthless.
Oh man, well, okay, so I have absolutely loved having you on the podcast. I could talk to you forever, and I feel like we've never even really met before this.
No,
like, I just kind of like saw you on stage and messaged you, and have been following your cat content. But where can people get in touch with you, or if they want to book you for a show, or if they want to communicate with you somehow, like how can they find you?
Yes, please book me on all of the shows. I'm really funny.
Yes, you are.
And a delight. Okay, you can find me on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
It's at Megsi, MEGSI _LEE. Megsi Lee.
Perfect. So good.
Yeah.
What's Megsy? Is that a nickname that you have?
Yeah, my mom just always
that's
called me
nice.
Megsi.
You know what my mom calls me?
What?
Muffin Man. I actually don't know where it comes from, but like she calls me Muffin Man, and when I call her, she goes, "Hi, Muff."
Okay,
I don't know where I need to ask her, like, what is that? But I think I just really liked the Muffin Man song as a kid or something.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, anyway, listeners, watchers, viewers, you can follow us on Life in Bold Pod on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. You can follow me, your sexy host, on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, also at Laugh with Ben. And I hope you have an amazing day, an even better week, and don't forget to live your life in bold. Thank you. Have an awesome week. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was so funny. I don't know why that ending was so funny.